That's the wrong thing. All right. It's Monday night. This is my partner hosting, Julian Long.
And this is my partner in hosting, Mr. Soul-Lutions.
And in case you didn't know,
this is called The Show.
What's
good,
what's up,
man?
Y'all? Man, what's good with you, man? I miss you, bro.
Likewise. I enjoyed seeing pictures of you with the fam. We got to see the light-skinned baby that you told us about. He is adorable.
Thank you.
Super happy.
I was, but isn't he as light skinned as I promised?
Man, you told no lies. None. I was like, that baby already a congressman.
Man. His credit score is so good, it's ridiculous already. He's
man. Just restarted because of a kernel panic again. Okay, let's just turn this mug off.
I'm help you fix that later. Don't worry about that.
I appreciate it. Yeah, in case the folks don't know, I'm running Bootleg OS. I am running this off of my phone, so the sound's gonna be a little different, the video's gonna be a little different, but the banter and the camaraderie will be the same.
Thank you so much, Angel Monique. Yes, he took his first steps. I was super, super proud when he took his first steps.
He took his first steps while you were there?
He did. Matter of fact, let me tell you how good he is. Let me tell you how good he is. He waited till on his birthday till both his parents, his grandparents, and the roommate that they lived with was there. Right? Then he took about 6 steps, and that was all the steps he took, period. He was like, I did it. Y'all all been asking me to walk. I don't want to do it no more than one time. Right. I'm going to do it for all of you right now. He first he walked to me. I ain't going to lie. First he walked to me. Right? Nice. And then he turned around and we, set him towards his mother, and he walked to his mother. And that was like the end of the walking for the vacation. But, he did it.
But that's perfect.
It was beautiful. I was.
That's fantastic.
That's right. He didn't want to give us too much. He was wrong. He was wrong. But I'll tell you what. It's good to be back on the show. We took another break off for the holiday. I came back. I was ready to do the show. Julian was like, it's a holiday.
I was like, it's Labor Day. Honest to God, I was still trying to find somebody's barbecue. I'm like, somebody got some smoked meats for me somewhere. I will miss out on this if I'm trying to do television. That's what it was. But I'm glad we back now.
After he said it, I was like, it's a holiday. That stacks up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, I didn't think anybody would be looking for us either. I was sure everybody was either asleep or, doing their respective things.
You're probably right. So
yeah.
But we're back 2 weeks later. We do kind of have a serious discussion. That's kind of been floating around the ether and the media a lot lately. But before we get into a serious discussion tonight, my brother-in-law has entrapped me in a internet battle that started on my porch this morning, this afternoon, right? Okay. So my brother-in-law is like, this person sang the best national anthem. I'm like, nah, it was this person, right? So then he puts it online, like, who sang the best version.
He was asking, was it Roseanne or R. Kelly, right?
Absolutely, it was Roseanne or R. Kelly. No, he was asking, was it Whitney Houston or Marvin Gaye? Now, I say Marvin Gaye all day long. It's Marvin Gaye. Like,
and I know if Angel Monique is on, she's already mad. But it's Marvin Gaye.
It's Marvin Gaye.
I mean, we don't even have room for a discussion here. I feel like it's pretty freaking obvious. This man, yes, Whitney Houston did a phenomenal version. We'll not take anything.
Absolutely powerful, inspirational.
It was very
patriotic
much of that moment. Yeah, I ain't even really I was in, I don't know, I don't want to age myself, but I was old enough that I was questioning, why do they make us say the Pledge of Allegiance? I don't really want to stand for this. Like, I was old enough to have been having those thoughts, and she still moved me with her rendition of it. I had not, by that point in time, heard Marvin Gaye's version of the national anthem. So to me, it was like, that's the greatest. Nobody's ever done it this way. No one has ever sung the national anthem this way, with this much soul and this much, imbuing this much into it. And then I got grown and heard the Marvin Gaye version. Well, what's happening? What's going on? Well, somebody, because I can't see comments now.
Okay. So Erica starts off with vocally Whitney has the chops. Then Olive and Boo is like, what do y'all know, with the oh my God smiley face, like, Then Erica comes back, but Marvin's the originality and suavidity of it is all right. And Angel Monique comes back with, I see Julian Long decided to choose violence this evening. That's when I started laughing. Okay.
I mean, say what you will, but yes, I do.
Erica says
violence,
when women are throwing panties at the national anthem, you the goat with the goat emoji. You the goat. That's what I'm saying.
When you get to the bombs bursting in air and somebody conceives a child, you have won. Look.
My mom used to play Marvin Gaye's version of the national anthem just in the house.
Word.
Just in the house.
It's like it's time to clean up. It's Saturday. We cleaning the house.
We playing some Marvin Gaye, and the national anthem is part of that playlist. You know what I'm saying?
I will say this: like, as powerful as Whitney's version was, I really thought it was going to go down in history as like the one. And to me, the fact that I don't really even hear it. People don't reference it anymore. And I know that was, over 30 years ago, but still, I really thought it was going to be the one. But then I heard another.
Look,
that's all it is.
The comments, I love our audience. We have the best audience in
we
the
have
whole
a fantastic
world,
audience.
by the way.
Yeah, we do.
One is full of lovely ladies. Ladies, we love you. Thank you for watching us. But you guys are just the best. You know what? We're going to start have you guys on the show on rotations because you guys are the best. I know Julian don't want it. I know Julian don't want it. But I think it's going to be funny. I think it's going to make for a great show.
It'll be fun.
But no, really, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for motivating us to keep doing this show every Monday. But yeah, look. For me, it's Marvin. I know everyone's got their opinion. For my brother-in-law, it was Whitney. Easily, hands.
What was his cause? How did he defend it?
Pretty much like everybody else in the chat, with her vocal range and her vocal chops on the song, and they were tremendous. But honestly, so were Marvin Gaye's on the song. I mean,
right.
Like,
here's the thing, because the thing is, like, the national anthem, the American national anthem is technically one of the most difficult songs. Like, it is not an easy song to sing well. And that's in part, and people don't know this, that's in part because it's a fucking English pub song. This is supposed to be sung with like a drunken slur. Wait, yeah. What now?
I said I do know that.
Yeah, most people don't. Like, it was an English, like, Francis Scott Key just saw some shit, was like, like, he basically wrote a parody song. He did what we all do. Like, you already know the notes and you just throw your own words on it.
Yeah.
And so the way that when we try to make it sound austere and powerful and beautiful, we are demanding more of it than its original version ever had to give. So for Whitney to be able to perform that way, she absolutely murders it on a technical scale and brings to it that power. And I think you said it was Erica that said something about his originality. Originality is one word for it, but I think beyond that, beyond just being original, when you're able to bring soul to something that is as soulless as America, you have done a great and a wondrous thing. And that's what it was to me. I was like, this sounds smooth. Like, America ain't never been smooth.
Right. He made America silky smooth. Silky smooth.
Silky smooth.
Okay. Almost like your hair. Our heads right now. Both our heads are pretty silky smooth.
Silky smooth.
All right. So
are we going to be able to talk about this?
I don't know. Just to catch you up in the comments real quick. They're like pretty much. I don't know what I'm asking, but ladies, I'm willing to risk it for the sake of entertainment. Erica's like pretty much the answer is yes. They're both the best. I can kind of agree with that, right? And Olive and Boo is like, we don't want the silliness on the show. So, bam, just to catch you up on the chat, right? Now,
I see. Well,
you were about to ask, I think, if I was interpreting syntax correctly, which I think I'm pretty good at. Are we going to be able to have this very serious conversation tonight on the show after talking about this?
Right.
I don't know. How do you feel about it? You want to go into another what's better topic?
No, I think we should save that for an upcoming really soon show. But I think we're overdue for some deeper pontificating and some real alignment. So I want to lead into it this way. About 15 years ago, Coca-Cola got bullied into making a bullshit version of Diet Coke. Coke had plans to make a new low-cal, no-cal soda, which we now know as Coke Zero, but didn't happen. They had plans to launch that, and they couldn't because Walmart told them, we've done the research. We don't know what this is that y'all plan on doing, but our people want Diet Coke with Splenda. Make Diet Coke with Splenda and put that on the can and make that happen. And we're not interested in this thing that you want to do. And so Coca-Cola invested a whole huge lump of money into making Diet Coke with Splenda. They put it on the shelves, and it did okay, but you don't see it on the shelves anymore because it tanked ultimately because people who like Diet Coke want Diet Coke. And the option that they wanted to make, Coke Zero, got postponed for an incredibly long period of time. What ends up happening when economics defines the moves of major companies is how we get to where we are now. The state of Texas right now is making huge moves in the fate of the nation. They're an unruly child making huge moves in the fate of the nation. We know that the assault on reproductive rights that they managed to successfully pull off is a significant coup. Texas also has a significant interest in never really teaching about the Civil War.
Yeah.
Texas is real big on talking about the states' rights, the war for states' rights. They're huge on that. And because Texas is, I believe still, it was certainly the case about 8 years ago, Texas was the largest purchaser of academic school books. They were the largest purchaser of school books. So Pearson, McGraw-Hill, Scholastic, all the producers listen to what Texas has to say, and they let Texas review the books before they're made. And if Texas says they're okay, then they're okay. And those go out to the rest of the country, not just Texas, even though they could, these companies could afford to make a Texas version, but instead they let Texas determine what's going to be the version that kids in Colorado and New York and Kentucky and every place else read. And Texas, being the unruly child that wants to be their own nation anyway, loves to gloss over the Civil War, such that we have a generation and a half of people who are really confused about what the fuck the Civil War is and was, and accordingly what it will be, because they can't recognize the signs of what is happening and what is to come. Abraham Lincoln once said, if there were a way to defeat the South without ending slavery, he would do it. Because ultimately the Civil War was rich people having really clear lines on how they wanted to continue to make and distribute their wealth, and poor people being suckered into thinking that that was going to benefit them and being willing to fight for it. People who had a whole lot to lose or who had been given the idea that they had something to lose were the ones who were the primary aggressors of that war. And as we look at the landscape now, we know that, white supremacy is the core cause of how it's expressed. But what's behind all of it is the fucking economics of it. The white supremacy is fueled by economic disparity and the idea that the reason you don't have is because they over there, the ones who don't look like you, are taking. Mm-hmm. And you'd have more if they were put in their place. And that is central to so many more of the arguments that are happening. As we look at how Abbott is moving in Texas now, we can see that. I mean, they've been saying it. It's, at first, the Proud Boys. You know that group, the Boogaloo Boys? You remember hearing that name?
Yeah.
The summer past. Do you know where they got their name?
Go ahead. They don't.
They got their name because the full name of it was Civil War II Electric Boogaloo.
That's what I thought. I thought I heard that in a news report, but I didn't want to misquote anything.
Nope, that's where they got their name. So the Boogaloo Boys, while they sound ridiculous, they were absolute, and that's the nefarious and nasty thing about it is how what I would say is even pernicious because of how it's so clandestinely worked in to sound innocuous, to sound like it's nothing at all. The Boogaloo Boys sound ridiculous, but these motherfuckers are fomenting absolute warfare.
Absolutely. Okay, so you covered a lot of ground there that I definitely
did. I wanted to set it up because I wanted to make the economics points of how much can be moved when somebody who's got the lever can say, this is how I want to shape people's perception of the world.
No, I no, absolutely. You painted a beautiful picture of the discussion we're about to have, really. I want to caveat everything that I'm going to say, especially about Texas, with this about Texas. So, rebellion is not only in the spirit of Texas, it's written into their constitution, right? So, at any point that Texas feels like seceding from the Union, for whatever reason that they want, they can. And they already have the territory of Texas split out into 5 separate states. Mm-hmm. That's written into their constitution, right? So they walk around making legislation and crafting ideas and such with that in mind a lot of times in Texas. Right? That, if we don't like what the federal government is doing, we can just leave, fuck them, and we're out, right? So a lot of what you see happening in Texas is built off the spirit of independent. We can do this by ourselves, which they absolutely and fully believe. You see that in the form of their power grid, right? And
yeah, that worked out real good for them.
Their basic infrastructure, right, is pretty much made to be, independent
separate from the federal,
of the federal government. So,
and I'm at a point where I'm like, fucking let them.
But that's right dead to the point of where we be at, right? Is with the Civil War conversation.
Yeah.
Period. Right. So,
it's the economic control that Texas had, the economic influence, I'll say, that Texas has over the rest of the nation, just because so much, like, oil reserves are there, like so much of what we depend on, or what we have been told we depend on, rests in Texas, that they get away with a lot of bald-headed bullshit.
No, they do.
and it's shaping. It's shaping the perception of the nation. It's shaping younger generations.
There are other factors at play though that are kind of pushing the second Civil War agenda in the United States. We were having a conversation the other day, not me and you, but me and
I was like, I don't remember.
Me and the fam, right? We were having a conversation the other day, and I was like, the problem is that there are conservatives and liberals, and not Republicans and Democrats. Understand what I'm saying when I say that, right?
I do.
Like,
yeah.
The thing is, when being a Republican and being a Democrat, you are relying on at least a political value and ideal to guide you. Being a liberal or a conservative, you're relying on your emotions about topics to guide you. Right? And anytime emotions in this country,
I think it's the other way.
I really don't.
I think liberalism and conservatism are ideologies that people think through, rationalize, believe, but it's something that they operate on more than just gut emotion. I think Democrat and Republican people act like they're fucking talking about their football team. That's when people, I think when people wrap themselves in a party versus an ideology is when they throw out the actual values of their ideology.
Okay.
Because conservatives are radical as fuck right now. There's nothing conservative about the conservative agenda.
No, there's not. But okay, so when I say that from a more traditional standpoint of what politics is as Republicans and Democrats, right? So I say that as your politics is an ideology, absolutely, for sure, right?
Okay.
And when you make decisions based off the core politics of those groups, not what they've turned into, right? But when you pull up a book and you look at the Republican Party, you pull up a book and you look at the Democratic Party, you're working off those core principles, right?
But even those have changed historically. Like, don't get it twisted. Back in the 1950s,
like the Dixiecrats, I know, totally, I get
it.
Yeah, absolute polar swap.
Like they traded places.
Totes understand, right? Which is a lot of the reasons why you got to look at the definition of what that party is supposed to be standing for, right? If that were the case, is what I'm really saying in this country, if we were really dealing with people dealing in politics and then people trying to be like, hey, this is my moral agenda. I need my politicians to work with me, but like not, I don't need the politics to be about my moral agenda like all the time, because that's what it's turned into, right? Politics has become about everybody's moral agenda instead of about economics like it's supposed to be, right? Like, how do we economically guide the country, in the right direction?
We could have a more fundamentally economically political discussion if the core of the economy had not become so fucking immoral.
Yes, I agree.
The way wealth is built in this nation is utterly immoral.
Absolutely.
It is destructive to humanity. It is destructive to the planet. It is destructive to other species. And it's all in the service of a few incredibly privileged individuals collecting more, green certifications of their value.
No argument for me there.
And so it has to become to it. But I mean, I get what you're saying, because a lot of what we're talking about when we say moral agenda is the social moral agendas that don't play into how well the society functions. It's stuff like,
exactly,
I don't like who you fucking, I don't like who you want to marry.
Right. I don't like what you decide to do with your body. And really, those should never ever be questions that even enter the political realm. They have nothing to do with politics. Like
They
they
do, however, have to do with race building. And that's where the white supremacy issue of it comes out.
no,
Like the
absolutely.
reality of it is, if white people were thriving and numerically continuing to dominate and growing, there would likely be a lot less objection to the idea of abortion because of population control.
Right. No,
They
I
wouldn't be as pressed about it.
again
But
agree with you 100% on that.
and so as we get to that, all of that still does play into, I believe that even the race building and the race managing and mining still plays into economic concerns, because all of it is power brokering. It's having the numbers to have the power. And so if you have the numbers and you have the power, then you're going to keep the wealth where you are. You can justify it easily because this is where, this is where the numbers are, so this is where the need is the most, and this is where the power is going to serve, because we've got, we've got that mandate, the mandate from the population.
I get where the
The
pressure. I get where the pressure to keep this the establishment comes from, right? So I get all those points, and I'm not arguing those points in any way, right? I'm what I'm saying is that those topics of abortion and sexuality and who I should marry and my color and my creed and my ethnicity and my religion, none of those should have ever come into play politically in the first place. Those should
they
just
should.
be
You're right.
they should just be gimmies, right? And if they were out of the conversation altogether, then it was just automatic legislation. Yo, you're a person and you can fuck who you want and you can marry who you want, and if you don't want to carry that child, you don't have to, because modern science and medicine allows you not to. You know what I'm saying? Like, if those are just gimmies, then we can get back to actual politics and not talking about what is obvious basic human rights and what should be gimmies. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
you're right about that. When let's go ahead and be somewhat nihilistic.
All right.
When democracy fails and one party, likely the Republican Party, has de facto ubiquitous rule,
Mm-hmm.
whether or not it's on paper that way, and the changes begin happening rooted, we see this before. Most genocidal conversations begin with an economic stimulus. That's how Hitler did it.
Mm-hmm.
It's how the majority of the warlords in Africa currently do it. This is necessary in order to preserve our people, to preserve our land, to preserve
Mm-hmm.
our economy. We have already demonstrated as a nation through the response to COVID-19 that we value the well-being of the economy over the lives of people. We are
Absolutely.
perfectly willing to let a few 100,000 more people die because we can't afford to shut the economy down. So it's not a question of whether or not it'll go that far. It's just a matter of lining up and connecting all the dots.
Mm-hmm.
When we talked earlier about having this discussion, you said, it's not a question of, whether or not it happens, it's where do we stand? I don't fear for us. I have a resigned awareness that not even just from a numeric standpoint, but from an ideological standpoint, Black people don't stand a chance. That's how I feel. I hate saying it, but I think that the reality of it is our investment in this country, our sense of any ownership of this place, any sense of real being or belonging here, the only reason that we would fight is for our lives. And you're fighting a different way when the thing you're fighting to preserve is the very thing that the opposing force is willing to sacrifice for some greater ideal. You're not even fighting from an equal place ideologically. White people who have bought into all of this bullshit are more than ready to sacrifice their lives for some greater ideal. Whatever it is that they've bought into that says this is their land and they have this right. They believe that some right, something greater than them has been compromised, and that's what they believe they're fighting for.
So
I think for us, we would at most be fighting for our lives, but I don't know if there's a greater thing that we as Black people believe we have invested in this country that's worth fighting for.
So my answer, I guess, isn't as bleak as that, but almost as bleak, you know. But I think to kind of answer your question of what do we have worth fighting for in this country, um, we don't have anything worth fighting for in the current configuration of this country, right? That's not a real thing. But if we were fighting to come out on top of a new iteration of this country where we were in equal control and we can guarantee, and I'm talking about really not just Black people at this moment, because it really is everybody we were talking about whose human rights are infringed upon, right?
Mm-hmm.
If those of us whose human rights are infringed upon were fighting for an outcome where those basic human rights are gimmies, right? Then we're fighting for something fantastic in this country, right? That's an opportunity for everybody to really have equal footing, equal opportunity, move on past whatever systems that have been ingrained to hold down each and every one of us, right? That's something worth fighting for. But if we're huddling up under a banner of what is currently presented to us as liberals and conservatism, right?
Right.
That's not going to work for us, right? Because they truly, neither party truly has our best interest in mind, right? What they talk about is advertising for their bases, and it has no true substance or value. So in the current configuration, I would have to agree with you, right? We will be fighting for nothing. I think in the event of, it would be up to us to organize our communities to fight whatever war front we need to fight to make the country that's going to benefit us.
So what strangles my hope in that regard is acknowledging the Cold War, the Cold Civil War within our communities.
Okay.
That within, if we just take Black folk, we've got factions and splits and fractures among us. And it's one thing to say we're not a monolith, but we're far past not a monolith. We're at a point where we are at opposing sides, not to mention the economic disparities even within our own community have some of us fighting to preserve the status quo because it's currently benefiting them. I struggle to try and see a unifying idea that we could use. If I were to envy the opposing side anything, I envy them their gullibility, their willingness to be sold an idea to be sold something to buy into so completely. The we are not afforded the luxury of that kind of blind optimism. We
True.
have a hard earned, jaded view of the world.
You know what?
And that
Real quick, I want to interrupt you one because I know you. I know you can't see me, so that makes you kind of talk a little bit. But I want to. You said something that I really want to address before it gets too far, right?
okay.
And that's that you don't think we would be able to pull past our, our social things that keep us divided right now, right?
I
And
struggle to see it. I'm not saying I don't think we can. I don't know the how. It doesn't occur for me as obvious.
right. Um, I want to say I feel like if the institution was taken away from us, the one that currently supports this country, right, through outbreak of a civil war, I want to feel like black people will respond just like they do in jail or any other situation where we know we can't rely on anyone other than ourselves in ourselves.
Okay.
Right? I want to feel like that would be our response to that type of situation because that seems to be the response to that type of situation in real life.
Okay.
Right. And I do wanna shout out that Cold War Civil War. That was a real good alliteration there. Olive and Boo also was like, yo, she never thought of it like that. That was hot shit, my man. Just want to say that.
I
Um,
appreciate it.
but I just wanted to interrupt you on that because I just
No,
felt different. I didn't want that train to run away too far. And it didn't, the statement wasn't relevant.
it's a good thought. I think the reason why I struggle with this so much is one thing that I've always just looking at it myself, looking at when we first talked about doing this show and what the intent of this show was. We talked a lot about healing and we talked about recognizing, personal responsibility, mine as who I am, yours as who you are, ours as a collective, and with this program to bring about or to be the cause in the matter, to bring about the reasons for some form of positive change, if only through dialogue and excavation of ideas to move toward healing. One of the things that I've always historically prided myself on, one of the things that has been the hallmark of me as an individual is being able to inspire and encourage. It's the role that I play in the world. It's the responsibility that I have to myself, to my community, to the community of people that I love, to the community of Black folk at large, is to present ideas in ways that connect and touch, move, and inspire. That's what I'm supposed to do. I think the reason that this discussion has been weighing heavily on me, like sitting in the back of my mind, constantly churning, is because I cannot think of how to inspire us to the action that would be necessary to not only save us, but to advance us. That in the face of looking at the other side and how little it takes to inspire them to see the world completely differently than it actually is. Not even just an ideological difference, but just to ignore sound fact and to be spurred to action in spite of everything that they see before them. And I cannot think of how I could inspire us, what I could say, what I could do, what I don't know what the message is. I've never felt that bereft of inspiration in my life.
I I think part of the wall that you're running into with the problem is that until something like this is a reality, there's nothing to inspire people to, right? Like,
but it's a reality now.
well, not to the average person. It's not to the average person. They're like all this, hubbub and noise will just fade into the distance eventually, and things will return to normal, right? And that's all across the board, right? That's not just our people; it's everywhere. There's people sitting around just thinking the noise is going to generally, slightly pass away, while literally you can find in the news headlines right now, they're saying how this fracture in this conservative and liberal party situation is about to cause an actual civil war in this country. Like, here are all the signs to where we're headed, right? So this is in the media. People are talking about it on their podcasts. This is seemingly a thing that's about to erupt in this country, and the layperson really doesn't seem to care, right? And they're not going to care until there's violence in the streets, and politicians are being kidnapped and hurt and killed and tortured or whatever, and pieces of government start falling apart and infrastructure starts to fall apart. Then it'll be real for people. Then they're going to be like, well, what do I need to rally behind so that I'm not dead?
Right. And then it'll be too late.
We're already, it's always too late.
Yeah.
It's always too late.
True. I mean, January 6th happened, and that still wasn't enough. I mean, granted, nobody in Congress was murdered, but they brought fucking gallows into the building.
Yeah, dude, like for real. But you know what? We ain't been paying attention to the chat. We've been bad. But Erica has an excellent point. Erica just said, for instance, Erica says maybe because inspiring us isn't one man's job. She says, for instance, the show is what it is because two of you, along with interactions from us, collaborate. Julian, you don't have to have the answers by yourself. No one person does. This is why community matters. Community circles, having community caucuses, meetings, connections, ideas, and ideals. Bam! That right there is exactly the point, right? This show is inspiring unto itself, having this conversation, right? Just the awareness of, hey, this is out here and this is going to affect not only us as a national community, but it's going to affect our community in very specific ways, right? We know historically there's no room for us in this country, right? We did the labor, and if they could, they would murder us all and get us out the way, right? We're kind of an expense at this point that they feel like they have to feed, right? That's largely what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And I hate to sound so bleak on the topic, but that's what it is. And if you don't really understand that, I don't really know what to tell you. And it's been going on in this way, in this country for 300-400 years now. Like, thanks for building the country. Get out the damn way now. Right? So, if a civil war were to erupt again, and now we're not protected property, right?
Right.
What is the point in keeping us around? Tell you what, in 1922, 85% of the U.S. populace that was white Caucasian male were part of the KKK. That tells you something.
Hell yeah, it does.
Right? Racism is taught at home, y'all. So, give them free reign, and the opportunity to put a target on us again. Absolutely. That's all fair game for them. Right? We're going to have to instantly group up to protect ourselves. That's just what it's going to have to be. We're going to instantly have to rally behind a new flag and ideal that gives us a space in this place we're going to have to take it, right? Or we are just going to die.
From a sheer number standpoint, it still baffles me how few black militia there are. The exploitation of, the Second Amendment and the right to form a militia that white folk have been able to damn near monopolize, when we, the group in the class that is so in desperate need of a protective service, like real talk, if the government, if the official government were to go out on a warring rampage against its citizenry, who do we really think would be the first ones they would come after? It sure is not the fucking boys in Oklahoma.
So it's no surprise that we don't have more black militias. I'll tell you why. Playing military is an expensive hobby.
That is true.
It is a prohibitively cost restricting hobby. Like I have firearms, right?
Of course you do.
They are expensive, right? And
They are.
the type of gunplay that is done in militias is really expensive, right?
Yes.
You're talking about your arm in a militia, and you're getting armor and bulletproof vest, and you're playing military
it's
in your backyard.
It's tactical equipment and armor. Yeah.
Right. Like, like I would love to start a militia, right? Like I believe in protecting myself. I believe in protecting my family and the people I love. I believe in my right to bear arms against a tyrannical government, right? The right that the Second Amendment gives me. And until they take that right away, I believe in that right? Like, you know what I'm saying? But I can't afford to host a militia. Not right now. And I don't believe there's too many of us who can afford to play gun games in a militia club.
I believe that we are on the other side of what happened in the earlier days when, not us, but if not our grandparents, our great grandparents did have a gun, did learn to shoot, did know how to handle themselves with weapons and kept those. And then we saw communities destroyed by people who had more guns and who enjoyed the protection of the government that our ancestors were arming up to protect themselves from. I think after a while of having it taken from you and having it taken from you, you start to believe and understand that you're not allowed to have, that you just can't. I do think that there is an intention to keep it out of reach. Because while, if we're being honest, having guns the right way is expensive, guns are abundant in this country. They flow like fucking water. You and I both know that.
Yeah, but they're expensive no matter which way you buy them.
There are ways to get guns much cheaper when you are not as concerned about how you show up.
Oh no! Look, bro.
Abundant.
I know, right? But
I know you know.
Still, it's an expensive hobby no matter which way you're doing it, right? They ain't cheap on no market, clean or black.
But I know that all these, let's keep it real, meth head Randy and his boys drinking that blue ribbon aren't pulling the kind of money to do it the right way.
Well, Erica said a lot of these militias are sponsored.
Yeah.
So
that is true.
Again, it is expensive. This is an expensive hobby, right? Look. I like guns, my friend.
I know
Like
you do.
I like
I
guns.
personally do not, but I do
And
like being organized.
and they are an expensive hobby, no matter which way you're doing it. It does not matter. They come with high price tags. Okay, man. Like, and then you're talking about collecting 15 to 100 odd people, as many people you can collect, right? And you're like, all right. So I've gathered you all here today to discuss the purchasing of guns. Who has money? And then we're here in the ghetto, and everybody's like, well. See, what happened was the way my account set up.
So how do we change that conversation then?
Well, again, and for me, right, ownership of everything is always my discussion, right? We really need to change the perception of what black ownership is in this country. Period. Businesses, weapons, organizations. Like, we need to start owning things in this country. You know what? We need to start banding together and owning things before we have to band together to fight, right?
I think that timetable is compressed.
Oh, man.
I don't disagree with you. I think you're absolutely right.
No, you're right too. The timetable's super compressed. Like,
I don't think we have that
look,
anymore.
our leaders have been telling us this since the 70s, from the 60s. Like, yo, we gotta organize. We gotta start owning our own. Don't let the white man take away what we got. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've been preaching the same rhetoric for 70 years. It's just there's only a few of us left preaching the rhetoric.
What do the comments look like? Is it dry out there? Because I know it's not a whole lot of
they actually lighten us up on the comments. They long, and it's hard for me to keep up right now because this conversation is deep. But give me a second.
Let's run through some of the comments.
Let me run through some of the comments real fast. All right, so let me. There's a lot since the last time I watched them. All right, so. We need a lot more mutual. Olive and Boo says we need a lot more mutual aid and to connect the very mutual groups. Angel Monique says people have to be volunteer. People have to volunteer to be sacrificial lambs. Absolutely. Angel Monique also says so true. Olive and Boo mutual aid is one of the main keys. Olive and Boo, amen to the point about the Second Amendment and militias, and amen to the point about how expensive it is. Olive and Boo also says, when I worked, I had a small personal firearm. No longer do. Wish I did. Erica says, such a great point. And to that point, a lot of these militias are sponsored. See, I told you I thought I read that. Olive and Boo says, in the few black gun groups I know of, none of them talk about ways to arm us who can't afford it. Amen to that. I know that's real.
I only know of one that does.
Erica says, I wish I could love your comment, Olive and Boo. Olive and Boo says, Erica, a lot of those white militias are armed because they came out of the military with a lot of them. Yep, that is true.
Yep.
Angel Monique says, my family, all 20 plus of us carry, and we take the little ones to the range as they get old enough to be allowed in. Gifts giving has changed a great deal among us. You know what? I love that, Angel Monique. We also are a firearm carrying family. Like, I believe in protecting yourself. Look, there's crazy people every day. Look, this place is getting shot up every day. Like, you at the nightclub, it's shot up. You grocery shopping at Walmart, it's shot up. No. You kind of silly not walking around being able to shoot back. I'm just saying at this point. Where you just monitor your business days and the place you at getting shot up. No. You a lot less of that if you can shoot back.
Yo, allow me a moment of levity.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite things that I've seen on the internet in the last year was somebody talking about, man, rap was wild in the 90s. Brooklyn was crazy. This dude literally said, if you got a gun up in your waist, please don't shoot up the place. And the nigga said, why?
Right.
Every time I think about that lyric, though, if you got a gun up in your waist, please don't shoot up the place. Why? Why shouldn't I? I have a gun up
gun in my waist. I brought it here
to shoot
put
up
some
the
caps in there, bruh. I'm gonna get real drunk. I'm gonna do some of this pow. I'm like, what pow.
and then do my Yosemite Sam impression. Rootin' this, tootin' this.
Y'all all know them. Y'all know them cats in the club. Y'all know the ones we talking about right now. Y'all lived through the 90s. Y'all know who we talking about.
Thank God we lived through it. Man, I don't know. I know this is a much heavier discussion than what we usually or what we've done the last few times we've been on air. But when I said that it was something that was heavy on my mind and you were like, you were the same place, like, I don't know what it is. I don't know why it feels like, I was searching, trying to figure out what was the trigger. Why has this been sitting in my head? Why has this been, grinding so much lately? Was there a specific event? Is there a specific thing to point to? But it's just a feeling of absolute inevitability.
My God, the media's been talking about it. The media has really been suggestively talking about it over the last 3 weeks. If it wasn't supplanted in your mind, I would be absolutely shocked.
It amazes me the rhetorical spins that so many of these elected officials are making to make the same point, to foment the idea subtly from their seats as quote unquote duly elected officials. Absolutely amazes me how they're still, seeding out and trickling out that idea. We are far past the point of needing to, you're right. We've got to organize for more than, it's got to be more than protection.
No, it's got to be for everything. We have to have infrastructure. Okay, just like I've been saying from like episodes 1 and 2, we have to have infrastructure. Right? If we don't have infrastructure, we don't have anything. If we don't start organizing all the way up to our own government and separate from these assholes, like, look, this is the plot of land we took. I don't really look. If we don't civil war first, we ain't gonna win.
First strike is the strike. You're not wrong about that,
right? If we don't be like, look, yo, we organize, we know what to do with our resources. This is what we are taking. You can either give it to us and let us have it, or whatever is next. Then really, as a community, we don't really stand a chance.
But to mobilize that effectively in shit, I don't know. I don't even want to think.
Put your community leader hat on. I'll put mine on if you put yours on.
Wow, that's a challenge.
I'm just saying, put your community leader hat on, right? So we can sit here on the show and we can pine about it, right? And we can be like, what can black people do about it? And we can come to the answers like we do on the show. Like we successfully come to the answers on the show about what we think, is the right thing to do, right? But we ain't about nothing if we don't do nothing about it.
Facts.
Right? So if this is weighing heavy on your soul and your mind, and it's been on my soul and my mind, right? And we're like, hey, this is what we got to be doing, right? And if we ain't doing nothing to do that, then we kind of to blame too.
Oh, without question.
So, let's look at what that looks like. Let's look at, what organizing a base for black power in this country really looks like. Let's start organizing. We have a wonderful.
What do you think is the most successful historically? What do you think within the United States of America? Historically, what do you think has been the most successful organization for political and economic liberation of black people? And what do you think what do you think is the hole in the boat that we need to plug if we're going to use their blueprint to build our boat.
Okay, I'll be real with you, and I can tell by the level of infiltration from the FBI. Black Panther Party was easily,
as soon as you said that, I knew.
Easily they were the most successful party in organizing the black infrastructure in this country. They were so earnestly and vehemently taken down because they were so successful, right? Ultimately, NOI, NOI wanted to be a bunch of ass clowns, right? And pretty much sub-steppers to the man and informants and shit, right? Like, that was, at the end, that was their whole fucking jam. They all wanted to be in motherfucking Uncle Tom's. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's why they still in business, because the feds use them. You know what I'm saying? The feds use them to bring down every actual leader or power base that we had in this country in the 70s, in the 80s. So while I would love to say it's them, it is absolutely not them, because they're just fucking federal informants. It's definitely the Black Panther Party. We should definitely be using their models. From school programs to food programs to arming ourselves, the whole nine. They gave us the blueprint.
Why do you think we've had such a hard time replicating it? It's not
fear.
that there haven't been efforts.
Fear. Right? Also, it's stamped out immediately. Right? Like, anything that looks like it's about to replicate that, the government comes in and shuts that shit down. They don't want us to have that power base. That is the last thing they want in this country. Right? Also, what happened to the Black Panther Party was horrible. How many elitists got killed? How many went into exile? How many of the members got killed? Just come on. Like, is it even worth organizing and standing up when they're going to literally just kill you?
What I was talking about earlier.
Right, exactly. So, it's an Ouroboros that eats itself on that topic. But would you rather die standing up, or would you rather die unknowing or laying down? Or with your head in the sand, even worse? Right? So, I mean, that's the choice you're left with. I'd rather die, honestly, standing up, fighting for what I need to take. Because that's what it boils down to. This is just some shit we got to take.
And it's that part. Like, your ability to say that, that's what I was going back to earlier. That the people who are ready for war, who are talking, who are planting those seeds, who are attending those rallies, and making that case, the January 6th people in the world are able to say that with relative ease. And it seems difficult to get us there when we have so much more reason to be there. It feels like as a people, we should be just 2 seconds off of that on any given day. But it seems like we have the longest road to get to that mindset, to get to that place.
Well, it's because we have the highest mountain to climb to get to the resources it takes to do that, right? When a task looks so monumental, it is much easier to be like, okay, there's two types of problems in this world, Julian. Problems you can fix, problems you can't fix. Don't worry about the ones you can fix, just fucking fix them. Don't worry about the ones you can't fix, because you can't do a goddamn thing about them, right? And when the mountain is that big, right, that almost goes into the fuck it, I can't do shit about it, Ben. And that's real.
So it's a matter of it's a matter of shifting the perspective of it so that it doesn't look like it's such a fucking big mountain.
Well, really,
it's conquerable.
It's about working the mountain the right way. White men don't knock down the mountain, they go through it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because that's the easiest path to the other side of the mountain. It's not over it. It's not by knocking the mountain down. It's to cut a fucking hole in it.
It's using explosives and going through.
Right. Yeah. So, until we be like, we got to go through the mountain, right? Then we're going to keep trying to climb up the mountain, falling down, scraping our knees, breaking our necks, bruising ourselves and shit until we realize what we need is explosives to go through the fucking mountain because that's the easiest way through.
Did you utilize the mountain metaphor thinking about Martin Luther King's positioning of the mountain and the sort of historical civil rights positioning of the mountain as the goal?
I mean, a little bit. One, metaphorically, it is used in black churches, right, as a symbol of struggle. Metaphorically, it was used as Dr. Martin Luther King in his civil rights speeches, right? And a lot of our black leaders' speeches because it's a metaphor that we're used to. So
you're actually helping. Yeah, you're actually helping me to get to a rhetorical understanding of part of the problem. We've lionized the mountaintop. We've lionized, just like I always get angry from a labor standpoint when I hear moneyed people use the expression hard work is its own reward. Fuck that.
Right.
Hard work is not its own reward. If you're gonna make me work hard, pay me accordingly.
Absolutely.
I know we're at or past time, but our lionization of the struggle, our lionization of the mountaintop as the goal will keep us climbing the mountain.
Absolutely. When that's not the route.
Right. Learning to say fuck this mountain, blow up the mountain. Like that's an ideology that in this era of short attention spans and goldfish memories, blow up the mountain is an ideology that I think can be presented as we need to reframe our approach to struggle.
Absolutely. I honestly, it just came to me when I said it to you, but honestly, that's the real approach is we have to go through the goddamn mountain, right? That they don't.
All right.
Yeah, they don't go over the mountain. You know what? White people terraform shit.
That's why they use it for all their fucking horror movies and sci-fi movies because it always comes down to terraforming.
Right.
Like every fucking movie.
We the one. Look, all cultural people still respecting nature. Still, it's in our genes to respect nature, even in our minds. We see a mountain in our minds metaphorically. We still like we climb over that mountain. White people don't think like that.
Even that is irony in and of itself because mountains are formed by something cutting through them in the first fucking place.
Right.
They were land masses that were cut through by small, consistent, persistent movement of water.
Look, white people see something in their way and they be like, fuck that. Tear it down. Cut a hole through it. Burn it.
We have to stop lionizing the mountain.
Right. Whatever it takes to get it out of our way. Right? People in our way, kill them. People in our way, force them into labor. People in our way, whatever. Look, whenever the rest of us start being like, there's something in our way, and fuck that shit, until we say that, we ain't gonna be all right.
You're right.
Because that's how white people approach the topic. There's some shit in our way. Fuck that shit. They wrote a book about it. It's called Manifest Destiny. You should read it. It's pretty much a book of there's some shit in your way and fuck it. And they believe that in their core.
Mm-hmm.
They demolished a continental forest from end to end. Actually, 3 of them.
Jesus.
All of North America was one giant forest when white people got here. Now it is not.
Yeah.
Like, yo. They was like, fuck this forest. It's dumb. And every mountain in the way. Fuck that too. You know what I want to put here? A railroad.
I say California is full of fucking mountains with holes in them.
Man, you know what I'm saying?
Like, they could just run a fucking highway through it.
Man, like, yo, this mountain's in the way. Blow a hole through it. You know what I'm saying? But look, it's 9:10.
Yeah,
It's
we gotta wrap it up.
it's been so good to be back with y'all though tonight. One,
I
thanks for
miss being
remembering
able to
us.
see y'all's comments for myself. Yeah, word. Yeah, like they were like, let's tune in, even though they ain't been here for 2 weeks.
Yeah, thanks for remembering your boys.
Checking
It makes
for
us
us.
feel special and loved. But we love all y'all. Really,
So
you
love.
know what? We love you guys in the audience. You ladies mostly are amazing. You guys have the best conversations and have amazing insight on the topics that we bring to the table. So thank
Hey,
you
yo,
for
do us a
demonstrating
side. Bring a friend with you next time. Bring a friend with you when you come
it.
through.
Yeah, invite.
Let some of your people know this is what you're doing on Monday nights.
Yeah,
You
invite them to the
eavesdropping
show.
on what black men actually talk about.
That's right. Well, at least these black men. I don't know about other black men.
Right.
But that's part of the problem, right? We just gotta get other black men talking about things like this, that are things they talking about, on the street, or in the recesses of their homes where they're really not getting the nurture and the encouragement they need. So,
Say word.
but man, Julian, I miss you, bro.
Same, man. Same.
I
And
was being
happy
here
10th anniversary to Soul-Lutions.
Thank you, man.
Happy 10-year anniversary. It's good seeing you grow. I look forward to seeing bigger and better things and being a part of that in whatever respect and aspect I am allowed and able to be. And
You know what?
when
I
you
want to
start your
shout out the
militia, I
audience
want to
one
be
more
trained.
time. Oh, you can definitely be in the militia, but I got to shout out the chat one more time. This is the second show in a row. Y'all got us to 100 chats in the chat. So, boom.
Hey.
Thank you. Y'all are awesome. I'm glad that the show is something you guys want to interact with. That really warms my heart. But no, dude, you already know you're in the militia. You got to bring your ass back to where the militia at, but.
Yeah, I know.
But you already know you're
We're
in the
gonna
militia.
start by blowing up that fucking airport. No, let me not say that.
No. Thank you so much, Angel Monique. Hey, but check it out though. I've been eyeing this this missile silo property. It's like 40 acres right outside of Denver. Yeah, it's like $4 million. I'm trying to get that so I can build my compound on in my militia.
I mean, it sounds like the right kind of place. Yeah.
Doesn't it though? Like that's my goal.
One thing I love about you is you don't play small ball. You think big. I respect that. I respect that immensely. Seriously.
Dude, I only have big dreams. I don't understand people have little teeny tiny dreams. That don't make sense to me.
You're right.
But I love all y'all.
I have been Julian Long.
Hey, yeah, I'm Mr. Solutions. And in case you didn't know,
this is called The Show.
This was called The Show. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us. If you're watching this later, thanks so much for watching later. If you were with us tonight, you were freaking awesome. All right. I love you all.